breaking down the deals, data, and disruption shaping global markets. You're listening to The Daily Ledger with Dennis Sert.
Hey folks, it is Wednesday, January 14th, 2025. You're listening to The Daily Ledger Show, and I am your host, Dennis Sert. Great to be here with you today. We got a very exciting show today. We'll see how it goes. I think it should be quite spicy. We're going to talk about the story I saw on Financial Times this morning, the risky bet on AI startups. And I have quite the commentary lined up for that. We have Pebble founder says his new company is, quote, not a startup. And we have Trump's EPA plans to ignore health effects on air pollution. Before we get into that, let's talk about some of the market trends. Dow Jones is up. It's down 0.14%. NASDAQ is down 1.25%. S&P 500 is down 0.51%. And Bitcoin is up 4.98%, up to 96,830. Before we get into today's stories, make sure to download Byte AI Market Analysis, which is a financial co-pilot that tells you when you should enter and exit the stock market on any of your given stocks. It does it based off of technical indicators like the Bollinger Bands, RSI curve, and MACD curve, which is just a mathy way of looking at entry and exit signals, as well as news sentiment at any given interval of 30 minutes. So about every 30 minutes, it refreshes and takes another look and sees how the market's looking, how that stock specifically is looking. Of course, it's not a financial advisor. It is, in fact, an iOS app. It's a tool that I use every morning. Remember that I'm also not a financial advisor, and past success does not guarantee future results. However, like I said, it is a great tool and I love to use it. You should use it too. You can use it by going to the iOS App Store and downloading Byte AI Market Analysis, so you can do these trades every day at all times of the day on your own as well. Let's dive into our first story here, the risky bet by AI startups. So this is a story where it goes into essentially AI wrapper startups. Now, what are AI wrapper startups? They're basically companies that build their entire model off of maybe their product off of the OpenAI ChatGPT API or the developer interface. So basically, just they have a computer in the cloud, just basically using ChatGPT, and then it displays it for you on like a nice display of some sort, or it does some like specific niche thing for you. And the reason why sometimes they're looked down upon is because there's this idea where, first of all, they say that there's no moat, right? So what's a moat? It's basically what separates you from the competition. So it's like they say that being a ChatGPT wrapper company makes you have no moat, as in anybody can catch up to you and do what you're doing. And they say that the big tech providers, so OpenAI, Grok, XAI, Claude, Gemini, etc. They say that if they decide to do your product, you are dead, like your company dies. So those are the two things that they say. And that's why AI wrapper companies are looked down upon. The problem is, after having gone through Y Combinator, I guess now 2 years ago, as well as having done my own startups, right? I've done several of them in the past 2 years. I've learned a lot, right? And I noticed that there are a lot of people that really don't know what they're talking. They don't have a full understanding of what's happening. And let me address the 2 points that I just brought up, right? So it's like, for one, they say you have no moat. Well, the problem is a moat isn't defined the way that the nihilists think it is, right? A moat isn't defined by, oh, I can do this, but he can do this. Therefore, he or he can come do this now, and therefore I will be gone. Like that's not exactly how it works. What you have to understand is, one, a lot of people are lazy. Okay. And some people say, like, oh, you have to assume that your competition is competent. That's partially true, but it's like, at the same time, you have to just be willing to work harder than everybody else. So what that means, kind of in concretely in this use case, in this context, is like, you need to procure customers more than the competition, even if your products are the same, right? And it's like, if you have a good product, your customers aren't gonna churn and go to the competition if you have a good product. So you also have to make sure that your product is, like, pristine and actually provides value, right? So that's kind of my take on the moat stuff. Um, and when it comes to essentially OpenAI or Google or whoever coming and doing what it is you're doing, that is also just, I think, completely incorrect. Like, big tech doesn't like to move quickly. And big tech, as it turns out, isn't very good at doing like little niche things. And I'll give you a couple examples. Like, let's just take like video recording. There are a couple guys I know, Ali and Kevin from Circleback, and they're super cool. They have basically this startup and this product where it connects to your Zoom meeting or Google Meets meeting or whatever meeting, virtual meeting, and then it records it, provides transcription later via email, and then summarizes it for you, right? I mean, you might think just kind of on surface level, like, oh, well, why doesn't Zoom just import ChatGPT? Well, Zoom never did that. Like, they have, I guess, some gimmick. It never took off, right? Like, Zoom has a gimmick that never took off. Um, I guess Google Meet tried to include Google Gemini. That was also a dud. It didn't work. And Circleback is just like, every time they show up to the group office hours, they're making like, 5-10% month over month uh, revenue, more than like MRR, more than the previous month. So I have nothing but respect for that team, right? For both Ali and Kevin for that reason, as well as they're just great guys, right? But it's like, that's one example of a startup that you may perhaps call an AI rapper, right? That kind of blows everybody out of the water, including all the big tech companies that you might have like naively expected to win. Same thing with voice AI calling. I actually got personally duped on that. Um, the big players in the space are Retail, Vappy, Bland. There's a few others, right? And in 2024, before OpenAI released their real-time API, they were the only ones doing human like AI, voice AI calls. And it's like, well, what happened? Well, when OpenAI announced that they were gonna like have this beta program for real-time interactions as a developer interface or an API, like something that a startup can use in code, well then, I personally kind of jumped on that, and I was like, wow, like I was so naive. I was like, wow, they're gonna smoke everybody out of the water. And you know what? It was a complete dud. I talked about this last week. It did not, it was actually just terrible, like, in terms of its performance, in terms of its latency, in terms of how well it can understand things. It was just god awful. And you know what? All the existing players that I mentioned are still around, and in fact got even bigger. Um, and I would actually recommend Retail if you guys are looking for voice AI, um, if you're in that sort of business. But yeah, so it's like, well, OpenAI tried doing that and failed with voice AI. So it's like, no, that second point against AI wrapper startups is false. Like, if you have a niche that just happens to be built on top of some AI developer interface, then yes, take that and run with it if you actually get market pull. Okay. Like, if there are actually customers in line for that, then yes, go, continue, right? It's like, the only thing that should really like make your decision the only factor you should be like considering is whether or not you have market pull, not whether or not you might be afraid that a big tech giant will take your idea. Like anything can happen, but it's like you can't be scared of that. Like I hate to say it, but you can't be a coward, right? And I'm not trying to be tongue in cheek in that, but it's like you can't allow yourself to be like to kind of shut down a perfectly good AI wrapper startup just because the boomers or whoever tells you like, oh well, tell you like, oh well, you might be eaten up by OpenAI. Fuck no, no, you're not. Just look at Circleback. Just look at retail, right? These guys are doing great. Again, nothing but respect for them. And it's like, you know what I mean? Like some people just don't get it. The type of people who don't get it, you'll find mostly in like the Wall Street Journal comment section, New York Times comment section, right? Some of them are on X. Mostly people who have grown up in what they call, quote, corporate culture. They won't ever understand. But yeah, so that's kind of my take on AI wrapper startups. Let's talk about Pebble founder says his new company is, quote, not a startup. Now, I don't really even care who this is much. I do want to talk about this topic as a whole. I guess it's some guy who, I guess he was the founder of Fitbit, okay? But, you know, he's out here being cute, like, and I say that facetiously, obviously. He's out here being cute, saying his company is not a startup. Give me a break. I ran into someone who thought they could redefine terms and what they could call startups and what they couldn't call startups. It was I won't obviously reveal the name, but like when I was doing my MEng in the spring of last year, I needed to figure out like which research group would sign off on my thesis, right? It wasn't that deep for me. I just needed a professor to say, "Hey, this looks good. Sign, done." All right. And it's like I came across this professor who, you know, he had this operation that was like startup like. Um, it was mostly a bunch of like seniors in high school looking to get letters of rec. And maybe there were a couple of like sophomores, and I was like an MEng, so you can almost think of it like a super senior, but not really. Super senior is bad. MEng is good because you get 2 degrees after the 5th year. But yeah, it's like I showed up and I came in with good faith and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. And then he started like the professor running things. He started saying weird things like this. He's like, oh, well, we don't call this, even though it was startup like in almost every way. He goes, well, this is actually what I'd call an anti startup. He just totally makes up the word. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell? Like, you don't, like, you're literally just shitting on people's livelihoods and like something that's like extremely held with high regard by really, really important people. Right? Like you're literally just shitting on the word and respect for the word startup, right? And it's like I just got so pissed off from that and like a few other things. And it's like, okay, I think I left like right after that. I was like, just, something was off about the whole thing. I found a different group. I got it signed and everything was fine. I graduated. But it's like when people come out and say it's, quote, not a startup, when it is a startup, just shut the fuck up. It is a startup. Right? It's kind of like gambling almost, except I don't condone gambling, right? It's like you can lose like millions of dollars or you can win millions of dollars, right? Like you have a lot of like it's a high risk, high reward activity and people can like lose their lives. And it's not me getting triggered over, oh, you called it this, you called it that. Like I don't care what you call it, right? Like on like a quote unquote emotional level or whatever. It's not like I'm out here saying like leave him alone, you bastards. It's more like people who think that there's some shit try and enter into a game where you have to be at the highest level of performance in order to win. And you can just tell that they are losers, right? Because if you're a winner, you don't have time to sit down and start pontificating, what should I call my startup? Well, I shouldn't call it a startup because that would be like tacky. Why don't I be like special and extra and call it an anti startup? Why don't I be special and extra and call my startup, quote, not a startup? It's like, if you have the time as a startup founder to sit down and think about this stuff and start thinking about the meaning of life and like, we're all stardust at the end of the day, you need to like shut the fuck up, shut your server costs down, and then go do like research or whatever it is that you want to do, kind of like head down, and just kind of like, at your desk and publish a paper or something in the next, 6 months, right? You should not be doing a startup. It's like doing a startup is not for the faint of heart. It's for fucking animals. It's for dogs. It's for people who want to win at all costs. It is only winners who succeed at doing startups, not the losers. And it is not a trait of a winner to sit down and start thinking about, like I said, the meaning of life, about what they should call their startup, about whether or not we're stardust or not. Like, who cares, bro? I wake up and ask myself every morning, hey, how much money did I make this week, this month? How much did my startup make? Can I sell something on Meta Marketplace, right? Like, these are the things that I think about on the daily, okay? I don't think about whether or not I should call it an anti-startup or not a startup. Oh, man, just these fucking idiots. Trump's EPA plans to ignore health effects of air pollution. I try actively to stay away from politics, but it's like TechCrunch. But like TechCrunch reveals this article, right? So I think people are shitting on my stream. TechCrunch reveals this article, right? Trump's EPA plans to ignore health effects on air pollution. And then it kind of goes into like, it's basically this piece about how, oh my God, like removing regulations and deregulation is causing like ozone and fine particular matter to increase and stuff. And it's like, it's actually like all technically correct. Yes. And this is something that this is a huge reason why I left California. This fine particular matter PM2.5, extremely bad for you. And it's like, when there's like smoke in the air and when there's like, particular matter and pollution in the air, it's extremely bad. But it's like, when people come out and say like, oh, well, we need to shut down the economy in order to stop this, like, that's when I realize you're either like an actor or you're like you have just like zero understanding of what's happening, right? Because the reality is there's something called stratospheric aerosol injection, okay? Stratospheric aerosol injection is a method of solar geoengineering to reduce global warming. This would introduce, so I'm reading this from Wikipedia. This introduces aerosols into the stratosphere to create a cooling effect via global dimming and blah, blah, blah. And it's done, and it goes into kind of the history of it. The delivery, it says here, civilian aircraft can deliver this aerosol injection, including, I guess, this Boeing 747-400, Gulfstream, etc. Could be modified at relatively low cost to deliver sufficient amounts of required material, blah, blah, blah. Military aircraft can do this, modified artillery, high altitude balloons. There's a diagram here on the right, talks about the injection system. Kind of goes into like Welshback seating, metal oxide particles, right? It talks about the cost, talks about the advantages. It talks about the risks, right? And I want to point your attention here. Um, Solar geoengineering in general poses various problems and risks. However, certain problems are specific to or more pronounced with stratospheric sulfide injection. It talks about ozone depletion, whitening of the sky, stratospheric temperature change, deposition and acid rain, ecological consequences, mixed effects on agriculture, inhibition of solar energy technologies. Let me tell you something. This is extremely bad for your health. Okay. When you have you know, planes going around spraying particulate into the air, and yeah, it's a taboo subject, but just TechCrunch brought it up. All right. And this is mostly where I get my tech news. And it's like you have these like planes going around spraying, and then TechCrunch has the audacity to be like, "Oh my god, it's because of deregulation, guys. Like you should hate, this person here, right? And this party." It's like, how about like why doesn't TechCrunch go out there and start writing a piece on stratospheric aerosol injection if they like the environment so much? That's what I just can't understand. I can't stand it. It's like I went to France, okay, to do an internship 3 years ago now. I think it was 2.5 years ago, like almost on the dot. I went to Côte d'Azur. I went to this place a half hour west of Nice called Sophia Antipolis, okay, or Sophia Antipolis. And I was doing this like research internship thing, and I remember we would have lunch every afternoon in the cafeteria of that campus. It's like I guess like a college campus. And every Thursday we would sort of be forced. We would have vegan lunches forced upon us. Like there was not a single animal-based protein in sight. And the idea was like, oh, well, you know what? There's too much like methane in the atmosphere, and we need to do our part in like reducing the methane in the atmosphere. It's like, yo, like, hold on a second. They're doing stratospheric aerosol injection. Why don't you stop them from doing that? And then maybe after they're done, like not spraying the atmosphere with particulate, maybe then I can consider like cutting down on my like meat consumption, like beef consumption, right? On like my animal based protein consumption. Cause like that's how you get big and strong. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why is the government telling me that I should stop being big and strong? That's like literally what's happening. So it's like, no, like my answer is like, no, I'm not. And it's like, it just drives me nuts because the hypocrisy of it all, right? So yeah, I didn't really enjoy my time in France, unfortunately. So I enjoyed the aspects other than that. I have a couple of really good friends there that I still keep in touch with. And I enjoyed the nightlife, and I enjoyed hiking with my buddies, and we had like a little hiking group. Um I didn't enjoy certain aspects of it. I speak French pretty well, B2 all around, and it's like they make it a point to speak English to you if like you don't get like literally if you are a native French speaker, they just tell you to, shut the fuck up and leave. And it's like I didn't like that very much. And you know why? It's because they also, and let me just quickly make this side point. It's like they complain. They're like, oh my God, French is a dying language. Well, then allow people who aren't native speakers, like kind of welcome them into the fucking community then. You know what I'm saying? It's like, my French is great. I can understand and speak to you at a very advanced level. B2 is like, at the point where you can start getting points from the government if you want to like move there in terms of your like immigration application. And it's like, well, if I speak this well, you should be willing to speak French with me, bitch. It's like, why are you speaking English to me? I said it perfectly. I said, bonjour, je vais vous prendre un petit café avec du lait, mais sans sucre, s'il vous plaît. And they're like, okay, that'll be €5 and 35. I'm like, what the fuck? So it's like, And then they're like, and then from the other mouth, they're like, oh my God, we need to have French conservation laws, guys. Why is English more widely spoken than French in the world? It's like, no, I fucking wonder why. Yeah. So it's like, um, yeah, so I guess I was just mentioning my France trip. Yeah, I mean that kind of ties into this a little bit with like not eating, not being able to eat meat or like beef on Thursdays or whatever. Like why Thursday? Like everything about this is just so dumb. But yeah, so anyways, I think we're going to leave it there. Um Make sure to download Byte AI market analysis, which uses AI to basically cover the new sentiment as well as technical indicators for you for every stock in your portfolio. Um, and you can download that off of the App Store, the iOS App Store, or visit the site byteai.me. Alrighty, folks. I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one.